Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm Walid and this is Budi, just to clarify. And we thank everybody for being present and for making the time to watch. And we are grateful for Bayt to host this in this very important and critical time that is all about human resources that is facing a big challenge. So Budi, Budi, it would be good if you give them a quick description about how we're doing things.
So just before we dive into stuff, I've done the first talk last week, and as you introduced Walid, so I'm more the guy that runs the engine, and Walid is more the vision of the vision and the culture of our company. So I think we're going to have a very interesting talk today on that part. Also, very interesting talks all around. Looking forward to Daher in 2 sessions down the line. Just to recap so people can know where we come from, our background and the company's background, which affects all what we're saying today. We own WonderEight that we started in '99, so almost 20 years ago, and it is a company that is at the same time that grew very organically from the start. It's a company that never had any corporate support, any funding, any help. And everything we've done so far, we learned it on the go. We learned to be practical. And then the layer above that became more as a vision and what Walid had in mind to push us to do better every 5 years. What we do in a nutshell, we're a company that helps companies grow their business, grow their sales, launch their new products, and become really amazing brands. And we do this by combining creativity, technology, and design at the same time, and building very effective and measurable campaigns all the way. This is what we do in a nutshell. So I'm telling you all this to show you what made us, if you want, what made us ready to be operating remotely without a lot of change. We've been hybrid from the start. We've been multi-skilled from the start. So because we served many clients in many industries, we need to have a team that is multidisciplined all the time. So we need to fly people all around the world, and not just web developers or creative directors, but in a single meeting that we should have ready a creative director, a strategist, a copywriter, a web developer, you name it. So we needed to have many skill sets on one table all the time. And this made us have the technical ability to do that. Because we also operate 4 offices, they're all remote, we have to travel, we had to create we call them the international team that is made of people who are multi-skilled and can handle anything they need to do. So all this practical problem solving on a daily basis we used to do all feeds into a culture that Walid will try to explain in a way, in his way, if you want.
Yes, precisely. Culture is very important, as we all know. Culture in a company is very important. And today it's being put to the test, or it's being a little bit at risk or jeopardized somehow. Before going into the topic of culture, company culture remotely, I would like to invite everybody to ask themselves the question, what does company culture mean to you? And I will get more into the details of what company culture means to us as WonderEight. First of all, a small part of it is our motto that you see behind us, which is play seriously. But we'll get back to that. Today, what Budi was talking about, all the practical and the routine stuff that we do on a daily basis to serve our clients all around, and having a team that is constantly, remote traveling and all this helped us, I would say, continue the work seamlessly with our clients, almost seamlessly with our clients, and also internally between each other. But this does not mean that people have fully adapted. I say that people have coped very well. Some people have coped very well with this pandemic and the curfew all around the world. But to say that people have adapted is a little bit stretching it, because adapting means being comfortable in new routines. So, and I'm not sure if people are comfortable in their routines, because a routine involves going from home to work to school to managing, the household and all aspects of life.
And repeating it for many years.
And repeating it. And the routine is actually usually the most efficient route in one's daily life. But this has been completely disrupted right now, and although people are managing to do their work, it doesn't mean that their work-life balance is being, honored fully. So, because of this, people are asking themselves existential questions right now. Like, for example, people who are managing to finish their work maybe more efficiently, maybe in less time, they're saying that, then what was I doing in the office? Why do I need to go get dressed, go get stuck in traffic, travel the distance, go to work, and waste time sometimes doing unnecessary meetings. So how elastic is my time? How important is what is wrong in my routine? So these existential questions require today, in my opinion, amazing leadership. People are really lost today, and people really need good leaders. So whoever is a leader out there, whether they're owner of an organization or leading a team, this is a time where they are most needed. And I can't say this enough, because leadership is a notion that has been used and abused and misused, because I think it sounds like it's something easy to do. It's not. It's a rare quality, because it's a complex combination of character trait, personality, experience, and a lot of hard work and empathy. So saying that there are a lot of leaders out there, I'm not sure, but the good leaders today need to be focused and need to know that they have a very important role to play for the people around them. And more importantly, for these leaders, now is a time to be very creative in their leadership. And when I say creative, I'm not talking about the artsy-fartsy side of creativity. I'm talking about creativity in business, creativity as mental action in solving complex problems. And we've been hearing this for decades now, or a couple of decades, people talking more about creativity in business. And I think this is one of the key factors of the success of our company, is because we've been combining these qualities, Budi and I, me being more on the creative side and Budi being more on the business and practical side of things. Although Budi is a very creative person and I have a very good business sense, the overlapping has been our key of success, if you want. This is where we meet, and this is where we align.
Also, maybe being Lebanese, we always talk about Lebanese creativity, and going back to Walid, creativity is about problem solving, and we've been so much trained to problem solve all the time. We were just talking about the electricity cut in Beirut,
yeah,
and the problems we have on a daily basis, and solving those problems trains our creative muscles also.
Exactly. There is no need, absolutely no need at all for creativity if there is no problem to solve. So this is why we, like so many people around the world, feel that what is happening right now is actually an amazing opportunity. An opportunity to invent, create, solve new problems, come up with amazing and unique solutions that have never been needed before. So, two things, leadership and creativity are two very important ingredients that are needed in this difficult time. And the leaders need to be very creative in their approach today. Another very important point, in my opinion, is a lot of people are going to, this might sound, funny to a lot of people, but what's needed is wisdom today, wisdom in the world, wisdom and conscious business. A lot of people in very developed markets are today working only if they find themselves aligned with the clients they are working with or aligned with the people who are around them. Otherwise, they would not work. They would not do it for financial goals. Growth has been the only factor for so many times, for such a long time, right? For such a long time now. Growth in technology, growth in economy, growth in business. I mean, even marketing managers are starting to change their title to become growth manager rather than marketing manager, to move away from the advertising era where communication was central, was very important, and brand positioning and brand building. Today, everything that companies want to hear about and everything that shareholders want is more growth for the sake of growth, but we don't know really why other than that. So I find that there's a huge need, and a lot of people are saying this, there's a huge need for wisdom in the world. The wisdom curve is also much demanded right now.
I think when I first heard the word wisdom from Walid or conscious business, for me it's a far-fetched, ideation, because I look at Norway, I look at people much more developed part of the world. But then again, when we think again, I align with him completely because it's much faster now to adapt. We're always been saying, that our parts of the world are 4, 5, 6 years behind. But now with technology, growth happens here and here at the same time. So I think if consciousness and wisdom are growing in the other parts of the world, they should grow at the same time here, if not a very, small delay, but we should start. I agree with you there.
I mean, wisdom is not this very complex thing, but it's not easy at the same time. It's not like now we get off of this call and we do some wisdom. It doesn't work like that. But something to back up my argument is that whatever we're trying to do today to solve very short-term problems, like using video conferencing to do our meetings, is something we could have done 10 years ago, but we haven't. Because we aren't proactive. We're not using some wisdom to understand how we can use technology at its best. Technology is always very, it comes in avalanche and people don't know what to do with it, so they start using it without really understanding how they can optimize this tool, this technological tool. The technology is extremely important, but what's more important is knowing how to use it. So today we're trying to solve problems that we could have done 10 years ago. So we're very reactive in terms of finding solutions right now. What we should be doing, if we were really applying wisdom in our daily life, we would be 10, 20 years ahead in terms of what we are doing. So going back to culture and what culture means, because this is the topic of today, I would like to invite everybody, before saying how do we maintain culture in the remote workplace, I would like to invite everybody to ask themselves the question, what does culture mean to you? we all know what company culture means, but it is not that simple. It's a complex aspect of the business, because company culture is going to mean something different for each and everyone, depending on the country or culture you are in, depending on the size of your business, depending on the people who work in your company, depending on the type of industry you are in. This is going to change what company culture means to you. So that should be the first, before trying to see how to maintain it at the home office, we want to be asking ourselves, what makes our company culture? So for us as WonderEight, our company culture is obviously built up of 20 years of experience. It's not something that we've wrote down 20 years ago and we worked upon. Even this slogan or this motto, it's not a slogan, it's a motto we live by. Play seriously is something we came up with 8 years ago. And every task we do during the day, every goal we put to achieve, we keep this in mind and we work with it accordingly. I mean, it's something that is very alive. Culture is something that's alive. And today it's being, taken out of its roots from its real context, which is the work, which is the physical office. Mm-hmm. So we really need to understand. I mean, look at us, Budi and I. Today we didn't know that we were matching colors, but this is the result of repetitive things and routine and thinking the same way. So we laughed when we saw each other.
It's true. Culture cannot be. I always love when welcoming new employees. The first thing they ask to give us the handbook so we can learn about the culture. Mm-hmm. And the first reply is we don't have a handbook because it doesn't fit in there. And they get cold feet. This is the first day they're welcomed in WonderEight. They do the tour, they meet the people, everything, but there's nothing really written down. And barely a month down the line, they understand the culture completely. They feel it because it's well applied in every department.
Exactly. I mean, culture, like Budi is saying, it doesn't fit in a handbook, at least not for companies our size and not for companies maybe in our industry. So let's try to be specific. We're not generalizing. We're just saying, we're just trying to share what works for us, because what we are seeing these days are more people trying to copy or getting inspired or copying actually what they see out there, rather than looking really and analyzing their own situation and coming up with original solutions.
It is very hard to apply corporate tips or corporate structures to small companies. That's one part. So exactly. They do operate differently. We operate differently than any other corporate structure in the world, and we keep on updating it, changing it. We're still growing, so it is hard to look at. And this is interesting, but hard to apply.
Yeah, and this is why today, in today's call, for whoever is expecting to get some tips and solutions about how they can maintain their company culture at the home office, we're not going to give any.
A few.
We'll give a few, but this would apply to us. This is just to give as an example. It doesn't mean if you do it, it will work for you. What we are trying to share today, the advice we're trying to share, is a way of thinking about the problem. It's a way of asking the right questions. So we'll get to that, but going back to what is culture for WonderEight, so part of that is being always saying that, and by the way, culture, if it cannot fit in a handbook, it needs to be spoken. It has much more power if it's continuously spoken and acted upon on a daily basis, rather than it's something that we're going to write on a piece of paper or a book and hand it to somebody and they're going to read it. And we expect that the next day they come and they live by it. It's not like that. It's in every word we write, in every email, it's in every,
meeting.
Eye exchange, it's in every training, it's in, it's in everything we're going to do. It's a culture. And so one of the things I was saying is that we always said that we always say that we are a flat structure. We don't have like this sort of hierarchy. This led, if you want, to people being self-managed, because if there is no hierarchy, people are not waiting from their manager or from whoever, from their peers to tell them what to do. So most people in WonderEight are self-managed and they are responsible, and this have helped them going from one day to the next, from the office to home, and still do their work efficiently. I mean, the next morning, without us even telling people what to do or giving tips, we found out that all different teams in WonderEight, they were doing group meetings in the morning, video conferencing and meeting. I mean, they've been proactive, and they've been self-disciplined. And Dudi and I and Kareem, we have saw this so highly of everybody, and we were positively surprised.
Yeah.
So it's not in taking the hand of each one and telling them what to do. It's instilling a culture that is going to be the DNA of everyone's action.
Well, and also, to be honest, we're not there yet completely. So not all WonderEight is self-managed, but a big part of it is. A good example now is we're doing this talk, and we have one colleague, Suzanne, who's we didn't even say that we're doing the talk. So she saw it on LinkedIn. She's covering the event. She's putting Instagram. We have another team on social media that's helping her to do the postings. And all this is, automated, self-managed in between remote meetings and Zoom calls.
True. Sorry, how much time do you still have?
We have, yeah, not a lot, but
okay.
Yeah.
So without dwelling too much on our culture, because we can keep on, I mean, maybe we'll give more examples. The main point today is to invite everybody to ask the right questions. It's like when Einstein said, if he had 1 hour to solve a problem that his life depended on, he would spend the first 55 minutes in trying to find the right question, and only then it would take him 5 minutes to find the answer or the solution. And it's this kind of thinking, it's this principle, if you want, that allowed somebody like Einstein to come up with the theory of relativity, which has completely changed all the science that was before him. And he did so not by saying, okay, how can I use the theories that have been discovered until today to come up with new things? The question he asked himself is, how did the scientists that came up with the theories, what did they base themselves on? And this is what he changed. He changed the fundamentals. He changed the foundation of their thinking, and it led to new solutions, to original and completely groundbreaking discoveries. And this is what we can do, each one of us in his own environment, solving problems. We need to be asking the right questions, because today, I mean, since the curfew and since the pandemic, I've been trying to do as little reading as possible, by the way, because, avalanche of information and everybody wants to tell you what they think. But the echoes and the things that have hit me are repetitive. People are very, people are saying the same thing in their own words, but it's the same thing. I haven't heard any original thought. That's because nobody is asking the right question. The question has been put outside. It's like, what do we do now? How do we work from home? How do we solve this? How do we solve that? Nobody is asking existential question about, for example, why do we work in the first place? What do we work for, and why do we work? I don't have an answer. I mean, I do, it's my own answer, but this is the type of question each and everyone has to be asking, and this will redefine a little bit. I mean, if you don't answer this question first, you're going to be finding great solution for short-term problems, and then other problems will re-emerge very shortly after. So it's a great opportunity today to be asking the questions we should have been asking 10 and 20 years ago. And these questions, by the way, about why, what's the nature of work, why people work, this is something that's been going along for ages. It's not today, it's not from our time. Or for example, asking yourself, why is the norm in the world working 8 hours a day? Before thinking about time management, as a manager, if you want to manage people's time, you're basing yourself on the fact that people should work 8 hours a day, but you don't ask yourself this question. So my invitation is, start asking yourself, this is the right time to start asking yourself, why do we work 5 days a week, 8 hours a day? Why? You just check it a little bit and you'll find a very funny story about it online, and it's so easy to re-question that. For example, it's been a year now, I mean day to day, day for day, when the curfew started, that we've been applying a 4 days a week model. So we work only 4 days. That's in our Lebanon structure. We tried it for a year and amazing results came out. Budi talked about this last time. So we've been more productive, there's been less stress, quality work has been increased. But our thinking to reach that was not because we heard about it, actually we had not. We researched it, and once it came to us, we researched it and we discovered that yes, some people are thinking about that. It's been a year that they've been thinking about that.
But maybe for a different problem. I mean,
yes, so the reason why we came up with it is because we tried to understand, you know, we've been facing a problem. People in WonderEight were working more. Creativity was, you know, questionable in some areas. So the only logical decision was to, instead of working 5 days, let's work 6. You know, let's put more time in.
So we all went to Walid with, you know, reports and results that if we want to keep the creativity going with this load, we need to either double the hiring or double the time we have to work, so people have more time to be creative. So let's double the timing. And this is where, when you ask yourself the biggest question that Walid was saying about, this is where everything, you know, just appears suddenly like magic. So when we come to Walid with very small, big problems for us, but small problems on a bigger conscious level, the reply you get from someone who's thinking out of the box is completely, you know,
it's going to be original.
You don't accept it because it does not, he's not replying to what you're asking him. But then you discover that, to give you a very concrete example, so we wanted to maintain creativity, and there's a lot of, you know, overtime and a lot of interruptions and a lot of messaging coming in, a lot of channels. And then what did you say? What was important?
Well, I mean, the most important was, you know,
creativity.
It was the quality. And quality is very subjective. It's not subjective. It's not something you can put on an Excel sheet. It doesn't have really a KPI. Quality, like a nice poem, it doesn't have a KPI, it's just nice. I mean, a nice design is just nice. Yes, you can break it down to say this is balanced and nice colors, and yes, it responds to the brief, etc. But quality in our field is very complex. So understanding this, saying that the most important aspect of our business is creativity. This is what we offer. This is what we excel at. It's creativity. This is what our clients come to us to obtain. So it's, instead of going online or hiring a consultant to solve time management, we say, what is the most important ingredient, and what, yes, for our industry, for our company more specifically, and how does it work? What feeds creativity? And then we discover that actually what feeds creativity is resting. It's boredom. You need to get bored to get creative ideas. So instead of taking 2 days off in the week, let's try to take 3 days off, because usually you feel, when on long weekends, if there's a holiday, you only feel the click the 3rd day, and this is where you feel, oh, wow, ارتحت كتير. And you come energized to to the workplace.
So the crazy part of us going, we went back. We went to 4 days a week in the peak time of WonderEight. We were overloaded and not being able to manage the deadlines. And actually, it completely made sense because people were rested enough to not to waste time during the day in trying to be calm, to think of something. They're already calm. They come and work on.
True, because it's flexible. I mean, time is elastic. You can come up with a great idea in 5 minutes, and you can come up with it with 6 hours. Good luck managing this fluctuation. You can put all the systems you want to time manage that, but if it's that of a gap, if the margin is so big, you can never put a system to control it. It's gonna mess up all your numbers and all your plans. So we were going through a lot of trial and error, and this design hasn't been accepted, etc., and then we shifted to having designs accepted faster, from the client side, and being done faster from our side. But this was not the only aspect, of course, to take 4 days. I mean, we had to solve the practical side of things to be able to fit 5 days into 4. And this is where we thought, okay, so what are the most important elements to save time? And we discovered that for us, it was communication, how much the information travels. Because good luck translating a brief from a client to a manager to whoever is going to work on it. If you don't solve the communication problem, there's going to be a lot of iteration and back and forth. So that's wasted time. So we saw what this resulted in. It resulted in changing the structure in WonderEight and having pockets of people, like teams, who are fully or almost fully autonomous and independent, having their own clients, having their own managers, having their own everything. It's a full team. And this cut the time by considerably for everyone to be able to focus on what is the most important, which is creativity. So that did it for us.
So not to dwell a lot on one thing, we're out of time. Same thing, then again, asking the right questions, asking the higher level questions really makes things happen. Instead of just reading what's happening now, adapting, being proactive, and solving the problem that comes to your face. It's already too late. The problem is here. So going back and forth. So like now we were asking ourselves, how can we, I went with new plans on how to work, how will the space at home work for every employee? So I started, drafting stuff, and Walid again stopped me at drafting and saying, what is the new business model, not what is the new working space. So let's not talk about how we're going to work remotely. Let's talk about how we're going to work before working remotely. Maybe our business model should change. Maybe our services should change now in this new era. So those are the deep questions that you have to first try to relax and think about before jumping on solving the low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I mean, that's the invitation. Take a step back in your questions. Like ask what is the first layer of your problem, not the
It's not too hard to find tips. We're going to give you like 10, 20 tips now, maybe quickly, but you can search them online. You can see what others are doing, but they do solve the moment. They do solve your day, but they don't solve the reason for needing that solution. So,
I mean, an example too, if one is trying to tackle how to, yes, like you're saying, solve the, the work environment at home.
For example.
The first thing one needs to do is to understand what makes a work environment of good quality. I mean, there's definitely a huge science behind designing offices. And there's obviously a long history behind the workspace, from moving from, being in cubicles to being in open space. And even this at some point was, re-questioned. So designing the work environment has a history, and it has a kind of, thinking. If you're a business owner, you can't jump to quick solution without understanding the history. You want to know what has been done, what worked and what didn't work, and how it operates, and then adapt it to your own people in their own homes, in your own country, in your own industry, what works for your industry. Because let's face it, nobody, very few people have a private office at home, especially in expensive cities where the square inch is expensive. Nobody was waiting until today with a closed office in his home office, not using it, and now he's fully set. So
if you want, we can jump to a few tips and then
yes.
back to. So a few tips, if you want, about what we've been trying to do, what worked, what didn't. Then again, we did not solve everything yet, so we're still far from solving the small problems. But we did react quickly. We did not proact for Corona, so we were naturally prepared for remote working. Like I was saying, especially with international teams, they've done that for all their lives. But I want to tell again everyone that if you did not proact, react fast. So if you weren't prepared and something came, do it on the spot. Don't give it a lot of thought, because the more you do it and you change it again and you fix it, the better it is on the long term. So if you did not be proactive about it, don't be proactive about it now. Just do it now, react to it, and then change it again. This is the first tip. That's my hand. One very important thing also to do, we try to fill the gaps when you have very big, discrepancies between the workload and then everything stops and you need to use the resources. There's a lot of ways to have your resources work on new productive projects, other than forcing them to take a leave of absence, an unpaid leave, or forcing them to react this way. So we had the chance to have a list ready of things we never had time to do. And if you have this always at hand, when times like these come, and there will be times like these soon, again, I'm sorry to say that, but this is also nice for being creative. You have to have a list. So if you have this list, you can just spread it on all the team and have them do jobs that are not client-based, maybe even not even company-based, but things you have to do in your free time. Invest in video conferencing training. We saw that there is a lot already in physical meetings. You are challenged in front of the client, in front of the supplier, in front of your other colleagues. It's already a challenge. So having this filter screen be in front of you, there is an effort to be made.
Changes the rules.
Changes the rules. There's an effort to be made to be present in the meeting, because you cannot just log in and say, I'm logged in. You have to be present. You have to show that you're here, you're listening, and this needs training. So investing in training on how to do a video conferencing call is a good thing.
And don't take your phone to the bathroom.
Yeah, especially now. And if you do it creatively. Also about the timing. So always start 10 minutes before the conference call and end 10 minutes after. The 10 minutes before help you align, help you make sure the connection is good, help you troubleshoot the who's in, who's not in, because it's not nice in front of the client to start asking, is X in, is Y in, who's not here yet. It's good to be ready for the client. It's like when you're waiting for him in the conference room, not the other way around. Also, after the call, doing a recap after the call is essential, because you guys will not see each other after the call. You're not in the same room. So keep 10 to 15 minutes after the call to realign, put the next action steps, and give feedback to all the other team members. A good thing we also thought of is to dedicate a person. This is part also of the company culture inside the home or inside the remote workspace, is to dedicate a person in the company that is, first of all, friends with everyone, but also can do those, daily or at least once a week, goes to check on people, other than the reports and the timings and the delivery and the deadline, but to check on them as a person. This has to replace the morning coffee in the garden or in the company. It has to replace by something. There's this human element. So give your staff a call once a week, check on them if they're doing well, on a life, basis, not only on work related stuff.
To keep the human aspect in,
yes, because you cannot read the body language on video conferencing calls. Many people won't even put the video, so you cannot know how they're really feeling that right now. And it's good to connect with them more. Time management is essential, but then again, like we said in the previous talk, that it is only one part of the equation. So you have to time manage, you have to have everyone time themselves so you can help them manage better the time, you can help them put more or less work on a certain job and evaluate if they're having trouble delivering. But also, this is only 50% of the problem. The other 50 is the productivity. I think we should really change into a productivity culture rather than a time management culture. We all know we're all responsible, we all know what we have to deliver, and we all know when to deliver it. So the importance for us is deliver the job and deliver it on time and on quality. When do we do it? What time do we do it is irrelevant. It's going to become irrelevant.
Yeah, a results-based accountability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It should be this way. It will. I think it will solve the problem for everyone. So it is hard. It's not easy for everyone. It's very easy. For example, when we have employees that were ex-freelancers, they used to do that. Some people who came from large organizations are hard to adapt to that because they're used to in and out logging. But I think if we know how to manage ourselves, we'll be much more at ease. We don't have to report. We don't have to show on time. We just have to show the result on time.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, going back to, the invitation of letting you ask yourselves the important questions. I mean, so we can end, there's no time.
Yes.
The time management subject, for example, that Woody was tapping on, is also, it's important to understand that time is elastic. Again, I said that. But what makes its elasticity, for example, for us in the creative industry, for people, how can people deliver a task faster, like Woody is saying, if we want to go into, even if we're going into results-oriented systems, you still want to make sure that your people are managing their time well for themselves, not for the not for the client, but for themselves. So if we end up discovering that actually motivation on a certain task is a very important aspect of time, of this elasticity of time. So if you need to keep the motivation going on, maybe it's in the quality of the task, maybe it's in the
praising, for example.
Exactly.
We always talked about praise publicly and reward publicly, and it's the perfect time to do it now because you really had to be in a room full of people to praise publicly. Now you're on a conference call, you're on a group on WhatsApp. So if you want to say something good to someone, don't say it on a direct message. It doesn't really make sense, especially when you have this good relationship.
And usually sending a video of yourself saying that is maybe might work better than an emoticon, for example.
Yeah, so, unless you're bearded and you scare people. But, yes, I mean, praising publicly now is the time to do because it's easier to do on groups and on... one last thing to end before you move to other stuff is also the culture of being at the client. So if we're going to work remotely, it's important to not forget that the client's businesses are... Many client businesses are physical. So if you are at the client premises, you learn more. We've always been telling people spend more time at the client than at the office. So already this is remote work. So if you are remote, if you have 1 hour, don't come to the office, go to the client.
If you're able to travel and go to the client, then you should,
So don't forget the client. The client is important. This is where the conversation happens. So when he needs something, it will happen in his own office and you will be the first to hear it, then to receive it on a brief.
Ideally go on the field, like meet the client on the field, in their shop, in their restaurant, in their whatever their business is.
Yes. Except in the bank.
Except in the bank.
Yeah.
In Lebanon.
I don't know if you want to add.
That's it mainly. I mean, I think we went around the points.
So Ursula, I don't know if we have any questions. I'm looking at the WonderEight group and everyone's watching us. So hi, keep going. I hope you're logging this time as WonderEight time.